late. Something about those city lights were calling out my name. Now mama, don't you cry. You know there'll come a day where I come visit you at home. And if I never stay, the same old worn out welcome sign, the population getting by, crossing that county line brings back the good old days. With the same old station on the side of that homegrown two-lane paradise, watching that midnight sky you don't see in LA. This big world will always change, but the small town will stay the same. This concrete tree line's got my head up in the clouds. A good thing that I got my roots back in steady ground. With the same old small church parking lot, I cried when Bobby tied the knot. By God, we never thought he'd give her his last name, or the ring that I wore on the night that we once stayed 14 to 9. Those Friday football lights sure did feel like fame. This big world will always change, but the small town will stay the same. To the place where the same old worn out welcome sign with population getting by, crossing that county line brings back the good old days. The same old station on the side of that homegrown two-lane paradise, watching that midnight sky that makes me want to stay. This big world will always change, but the small town will stay the same.
In the darkness, I could feel her thinking about somebody else. Some old secret she keeps hidden high up on the shelf. It's all covered in dust, holding up some old book supposed to teach you about heaven and hell. In the darkness, I could feel her thinking about somebody else. I hear country music playing in the background, some old sweet melody about the life we lead, the love that we never found. I said I love you, she said honey now, yeah, just keep doing what comes natural in the heat of the night. And if we're lucky, that country music make everything alright. As the night wears on, I can feel her starting to get close, moving over to me through the memories that only the shadows on the ceiling know. The whiskey and the lies we keep telling, I hear a melody starting to take hold. As the night wears on, I can feel her starting to get close. I hear country music playing in the background, some old sweet melody about the life we lead, the love that we never found. I said I love you, said honey now, yeah, just keep doing right through the heat of the night. If we're lucky, the country music make everything alright. There was nothing much left as the sun started opening its eyes. She rolled over, said, "You want some coffee?" Said, "Yeah, babe, I take a little sugar in mine." She got up, put on a morning dress, but she forgot to put back on her disguise. There was nothing much left as the sun started opening its eyes, except that country music.
Spending the night in Dixon, 60-odd miles from a plan. Is it too late to learn to listen? Too late to be less a man? How many yesterdays are between us now? How many yesterdays are between us now? Carried it on, cobbling miles as we go, a line at a time, or a sad swan song, offering up purple prose. And I'd find you if I could, invite you to the final act. But I think it's understood nothing good can come of that. How many yesterday are between us now. How many yesterdays are between us now? How many yesterdays